Welcome back to the Nonstop Horror YouTube channel, where we celebrate the best genre out there all year long. My name is Cameron, and today we're going to be talking about horror movies on Hulu. I've already done recent videos on horror movies you can find on Amazon Prime and on Netflix, and now Hulu's time is up. So if for whatever reason you only have Hulu, God rest your soul, these are some scary movies that you should definitely check out on the platform. Maybe you have it bundled with Disney Plus because you have kids or you're a Disney fanatic, which is a topic all on its own. I love that when you first open this app directed at kids, and that my kids primarily use, the first thing you see plastered there is The First Omen, easily accessible and watchable by my 6-year-old. A whole new generation of traumatized horror fans about to spawn. Now, to be fair, there might be a way to avoid that in the parental controls, but I haven't dug too deep into that yet because we share an account with someone. Don't tell Walt. There are actually a lot of great horror movies on Hulu. I was actually pretty surprised. I feel like with Amazon Prime and Netflix, I had to dig a little deep to find the diamonds in the rough, but not here. I had to dwindle down the list a lot. Just to clarify, there are a crap ton of like reboots and remakes, also like The Grudge, The Blair Witch Project, The Boogeyman, that are on Hulu. I'm not going to be talking about any of those today. But before we get too far into it, and speaking of Amazon Prime and Netflix, make sure you go watch those videos after this one as well, especially if you have those streaming services and you're still stuck on what to watch. I'll be updating these streaming platform videos as often as I see fit, so make sure to like the video and subscribe so you can keep coming back to see what's streaming at any given time. So I've got 10 horror movie suggestions that I'm going to throw your way, and then towards the end of the video I'm going to be talking about some honorable mentions, which will include movies that I already talked about in the Amazon Prime or Netflix video, movies that aren't as fresh in my mind, so I can't really give like detailed accounts anymore, or movies that I haven't seen yet but are definitely on my personal watch list. First up, we have a classic that should be seen by everyone, Alien. It came out in 1979 and it's probably one of the best horror movies ever made. Still holds up to this day. It's about a spacecraft crew who investigates a mysterious transmission out there in space, and then they come into contact with a deadly life form. So many great things about this movie, even down to the tagline, one of the best taglines ever used in a horror movie. In space, no one can hear you scream. Just absolutely chilling. And then you also get to meet two iconic horror characters, one in Alan Ripley and two in the Xenomorph. Lots of sequels / prequels to explore if you like this one. Saw is a modern classic and one of, if not my favorite horror movie. I'm assuming most people watching this video have seen Saw, but if you haven't, make sure to add it to the very top of your watch list. Came out in the early 2000s and it absolutely changed the game. And it's worth noting that it's directed by James Wan, who went on to create the Insidious universe and the Conjuring universe, so a horror staple, and it all stemmed here from Saw 1. So we start off with two dudes who wake up in this rundown, disgusting bathroom, chained to these pipes, and they don't really have any memory of how they got there. They soon come to realize that they're partaking in a game hosted by the infamous Jigsaw Killer, who tests his victims' will to live by putting them in these deadly games. Saw spawned 7 sequels, a prequel, and a spin-off, if I got all those correct. The first one has a twist that you're not going to see coming, and if you choose to watch the other films in the franchise, just know that the kills, the traps, the twists, it all just gets crazier and crazier as it moves on. When Evil Lurks is quite literally the last horror movie that I watched, and it is just burned into my brain at this point. I think it's going to live with me for a while. It's a movie that I put off for far too long. It was at the top of like a lot of people's 2023 horror list, and I regret putting it off for so long. This is a Spanish film, so I had to watch it with subtitles, and it was initially a Shudder exclusive, but it is now on Hulu. Another one of those gems that your child might stumble upon in the Disney Plus app. Just know this is a messed up ride you're about to go on if you choose to watch When Evil Lurks. It's about two brothers who live out in the countryside, and they come to realize that a neighbor is possessed by an unborn demon, and this is kind of their journey on preventing it from being born, I think is the best way to summarize the plot for this one. Another fair warning, this would make the top of a lot of people's disturbing and gory list, so if you have an uneasy stomach when it comes to horror, maybe avoid this one, but if you want some great imagery that's going to be burned into your brain, come on in. Without getting too spoilery, I will just say that there are no rules or limits when it comes to who is in danger in this film. I was bewildered by some of the moments in this movie, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. VHS is one of 2 anthology horror movies on this list. You'll soon come to find that I'm a big fan of anthologies when they're done right. VHS is a modern classic and it's filmed in the found footage style. And this was actually created and produced by one of the founders of Bloody Disgusting, which is a well-known online horror publication. It consists of 5 short films that are cleverly integrated into this larger narrative. The overarching premise is that this gang of criminals has been hired to retrieve this one specific VHS tape, and so they break into the house and they end up watching a few of these VHS tapes, the films that we end up seeing. VHS has spawned many sequels and a couple of spin-off movies, so to say that it's had an impact on the modern horror scene is a bit of an understatement. Day of the Dead is kind of self-explanatory. George Romero is known for his zombie films, and he's probably one of the best horror directors of all time. Day of the Dead is the 3rd installment in his zombie films, and the neat thing about this one is you don't have to see the first 2 to enjoy the 3rd one. So if you're into zombies, this one's for you. The ABCs of Death is a very unique and ambitious anthology horror film. It consists of 26 short horror films, the titles of which all begin with a letter of the alphabet, and they're all just played kind of in sequential order of the alphabet. Each film has a different director, and the ethnicities of the directors span across 15 different countries. Like I said, a very ambitious project. It spawned 2 sequels, and it's really fun to watch the different stories play out and guess what the title of each short film is going to be, because they don't reveal the titles until the end of each segment. It is listed as a comedy horror online. I don't remember it being super funny, but maybe just go into it thinking that it's on the darker side of humor. Would You Rather stars Brittany Snow, and it's exactly as the title says, it's a deadly game of Would You Rather. Snow's character is trying to gather enough money to pay for her brother's leukemia treatment, I think it is, some sort of cancer, and she's introduced to this philanthropist who presents her with a pretty interesting proposal. If she wins this deadly game of Would You Rather, he'll pay for her brother's treatment and even help find a bone marrow donor. I'm personally a huge fan of horror films that are centered around some type of game, so if you're into that, check out Would You Rather. Bone Tomahawk has a unique feel to it. Kind of has Western vibes, and like it feels like a period piece at times. It has a great cast including Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, Sid Haig is even in here. I think David Arquette makes an appearance. It's about a sheriff who sets out on a mission to rescue 3 people who are believed to have been kidnapped by this like outcast, inbred, cannibalistic tribe. This is another movie that requires a disclaimer. The movie overall isn't super gory or violent, but there is a truly disturbing, gory scene in this movie that I think warrants a warning going into it. It's one of the most brutal death scenes in modern horror memory. Infinity Pool has a stacked cast with Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth leading the way, and it's written and directed by Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg, a body horror legend. It's about a couple who goes on vacation, and the dude is a struggling writer and he's kind of looking for inspiration, and they end up meeting this other couple on this, I don't remember if it's an island or if it's just a different country. They meet another couple, and then on one of their outings with this couple, there's an accident, and as a result of this accident, they start to unravel these deep, dark secrets of the culture here in this country. This is for those looking for that weird, trippy, sci-fi mindfuck type of movie. And of course, anyone who loves Mia Goth or Alexander Skarsgård. Silent Hill is a horror movie based on a beloved video game, and it's an interesting case where, although a lot of stuff was changed from the original game, it still is a great standalone horror film. It's about a woman who has a daughter who has been having these like sleepwalking bouts, and during those sleepwalking bouts she keeps talking about this town called Silent Hill, and for some reason the mom wants to take her to this town, and they head to the town and they get in a car wreck, and when the woman wakes up, her daughter is missing, and she must go on foot into Silent Hill to find her daughter. The film features a dreadful, chilling atmosphere, and there's amazing creature design in it as well. This is a classic in its own right. There is like a reboot, remake movie coming out later this year called Return to Silent Hill, so it might be good to catch up with this film before that one comes out. Alright, so those were the top 10 scary movies that I would recommend you go watch on Hulu right now. Now we're going to get into some honorable mentions, and we're going to start with talking about The First Omen. This has been touted as one of the best horror movies of 2024, so I, along with a bunch of other people, are stoked that it's now on streaming. It's a prequel to the horror classic The Omen that came out back in 1976, and it's the sixth or seventh installment in the whole franchise. It was made on a budget of $30 million, and it made $53.7 million in the box office, so a commercial success by those standards. The first Omen is about a woman who goes to Rome to start a life of service to the church, but instead of finding peace and purpose, she runs into something far more dark and sinister. This causes her to question her faith and uncover a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring along the birth of the evil incarnate. Now, after reading and saying that description out loud, my biggest worry is that it's going to be very similar to Immaculate. I loved Immaculate. We saw that in theaters. So watching the first Omen, I'm just worried that it might not have as much impact if it's A, not in a theater, and 2, it's too similar to Immaculate, but we'll see how it goes. This is at the top of my watch list, and I plan on watching this weekend. Another note on the first Omen, if you enjoy the first Omen, definitely go check out the rest of the franchise. All, if not most, of the films in the franchise are on Hulu, so you can just go down that rabbit hole. Autopsy of Jane Doe is here because I've already talked about it in my Netflix video, but if you're looking for something that's got that atmospheric horror vibe to it, then this one's worth checking out. Funhouse is a silly little influencer horror movie. It's about these celebrities that are invited to take part in this reality game show that's hosted by this creepy, weird, I think it's a panda bear, but like a CGI panda bear. And I think that's kind of all you need to know about this one before heading into it. There hasn't been much horror comedy on this list so far, so if you're in the mood for horror comedy, something a little bit lighter on the mood, I would definitely suggest either Little Monsters or Werewolves Within. Little Monsters is about a zombie outbreak and these 3 adults who try to protect a group of children during this zombie outbreak. And then Werewolves Within is about a group of people who are kind of snowed in this small little town in Vermont, and then they start to suspect that someone among them is a werewolf. So you can kind of decide between those two which premise seems more interesting to you. Mirrors is a fantastic 2008 supernatural film. It's about an ex-cop who gets hired as a security guard, and he's hired to guard this old, seemingly abandoned department store. And inside of this department store are these unbroken, flawless mirrors. He begins to realize that these mirrors harbor a horrific secret that threatens him and his family. Kiefer Sutherland stars in this one, and he is amazing in it. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it being really great, and some of the death scenes are actually still seared into my brain. Alright, and then to wrap up this video, I'm just going to list out the names of a couple movies that are on my watch list that I haven't seen yet, but I'm going to watch hopefully sometime soon now that they're on Hulu. But those include I Saw the Devil, Marrowbone, Honeymoon, Mandy, The House That Jack Built, and Skinamarink. So if you've seen any of those movies that I just listed, please let me know in the comments if I should check them out, which one I should check out, and if they're good or not. Alright, so there we go. The best horror movies on Hulu, in my opinion. You can't really go wrong with any of these. They're all really good. I hope I've helped you choose something to watch this weekend, but if you've seen all of them already, kudos to you. Let me know that in the comments as well, and any suggestions you have that you found on Hulu. If you have Netflix or Amazon Prime, make sure to go check out those videos as well for more horror suggestions. Also, let me know what other streaming services you're interested in getting a video like this on, so that you know to watch on those platforms. I might do one on Shudder. That's a pretty big one that I want to cover, and then maybe Tubi. I've heard that Tubi has been surprising people with its horror selection, so maybe at least those two, and we'll see where else we get with that. But that's it. Go get spooked tonight. Let me know what you guys watched. I appreciate you sticking to the end of the video here. Make sure to like and subscribe so you can keep coming back for more fun, exciting, and informative horror content. And remember to embrace the fear all year round.